Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Well, it looks like there's a good possibility that Terence Crawford may snatch Manny Pacquiao away from Ryan Garcia. Now, a lot of people believe that the Ryan Garcia-Manny Pacquiao fight was never going to happen. But regardless, according to sources, Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford are negotiating right now. Gervonta Tank Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, he did a recent interview, and he said he heard that Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford are going to fight next. Now, clearly, this is just he said, she said, but at the same time, though, remember, it was Gervonta that told us a long time ago that if Ryan Garcia is not fighting him, he's going to try to take an exhibition fight. And it turned out it was true. That was the plan. The plan is completely falling apart now, but that was the plan, for Ryan Garcia to fight Manny Pacquiao in an exhibition bout. So when I hear Tank Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, say that Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford are in negotiations, I take it a little bit more serious now. And if you think about it, it definitely makes sense. There's really nowhere else for Manny Pacquiao to go. Originally, he wanted to fight Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor just got knocked out. Then he wanted to fight Ryan Garcia. And all of a sudden, Golden Boy's president comes out and says, that fight ain't gonna happen. There's no possibility of it happening. And I truly believe the reason why it's not happening, because Manny Pacquiao most likely wanted an enormous amount of money. And once he found out that Golden Boy wasn't gonna pay that kind of money, and they certainly weren't gonna pay that type of money for an exhibition bout, and if Manny Pacquiao said, okay, well, let's make it a real fight, then Golden Boy, maybe they're worried about Ryan possibly losing to Manny Pacquiao in a real fight. So anyway, regardless of what it was, it looks like that fight is not going to happen. And that kind of brings Manny Pacquiao back full circle when it comes to negotiating or renegotiating with Terence Crawford. I'm not saying it's a guarantee the fight is going to happen, but I do believe that they are talking right now. For those of you guys who don't know, according to Bob Arum and Terence Crawford, the fight was very close to getting done. Manny Pacquiao, I believe he said he wanted $20 million, and Bob Arum had found some investors that were going to pay him that. But once they found out that it was a good chance they weren't going to be able to host the fight in front of fans, then the investors, they start worrying about coming up with the money, or at least make their money back, I should say. Now, for Terence Crawford's sake, hopefully he gets this fight, because if he gets this fight and beats Manny Pacquiao, that gives him great leverage going into negotiations with Errol Spence, or at least trying to push for negotiations with Errol Spence. Because we both know that Errol and Terence Crawford have both been racing to the Manny Pacquiao fight. So this would be huge if Terence Crawford actually lands this fight. I mean, right now, when you look at all the fights that are not going to happen, this Manny Pacquiao-Crawford fight could possibly be the biggest fight of the year. Now, we all know that when Ryan Garcia was fighting Manny Pacquiao, all of you fans were saying, hey, man, of course he's going to take the Manny Pacquiao fight. That's a big fight, and he should take it. Who would pass up a Manny Pacquiao fight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When it was Ryan, they had nothing negative to say. Let's see if you guys say the same thing about Terence Crawford fighting him. We know what time it is, don't we? If this fight does happen, I believe that we're going to see the best Manny Pacquiao we've seen, probably even a better Manny Pacquiao than we've seen in the Keith Thurman fight. But honestly, I don't think it's going to matter, because Terence Crawford is on a whole different level. He's a very, very special fighter. And after watching his recent fight against Kell Brook, I became more impressed with him. His boxing IQ is so high. I mean, when you look at that Kell Brook fight, a lot of people don't pay attention to this. You've seen how sharp Kell Brook was in the fight, the first couple of rounds. And mind you, Kell Brook has done this every time he stepped up in competition. When he fought Golovkin, he looked extremely sharp. He was outboxing Golovkin. When he fought Errol Spence, he looked really sharp in the first half of that fight, but it was a big difference on how Golovkin and Spence got the win over Kell Brook as opposed to Terence Crawford. You know, when it comes to Golovkin, he uses massive size advantage. When it comes to Errol Spence, he basically walked down Kell Brook. But when it came to Terence Crawford, Crawford was able to beat Kell Brook at his own game, which is something that Terence Crawford specializes in. If you're a massive puncher, you come forward, you're aggressive, Terence Crawford will stand there with you and beat you at a toe-to-toe fight like he did with Mean Machine. If you're a really good counterpuncher, just a really good boxer like Kell Brook, Terence Crawford is going to outmatch you in that as well. For people to say that Kell Brook wasn't the same, he's washed up, only way we know that is if he gets in the ring with a lesser opponent and struggles against that guy. That's when you could say, oh, this guy is washed up. Because usually that's what happens when fighters start to decline. They get in the ring with guys that they would have usually just beat easy. Then all of a sudden they're struggling against that guy. But when you get knocked out by pound for pound the best fighter in the world, that actually would make sense, right? You can't just attribute that to this being a faded fighter unless he looked different. But like I said a minute ago, Kell Brook was looking terrific in the fight. And that's the version that Terence Crawford knocked out. You also have to remember, Terence Crawford is known for knocking out elite fighters. And when I say elite, I'm talking about undefeated fighters. I'm talking about fighters that you don't usually see getting knocked out. In fact, the majority of people he knocked out, they had never been knocked out before. So I tell you guys all of this just to say, I truly believe that if this fight happens, Terence Crawford, out of everyone, he will probably dominate Manny Pacquiao better than any fighter has ever done, and that includes Floyd Mayweather. Styles make fights. So we'll see if we get this fight this year, guys. That's all I got for now, and I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Decay Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to lodecay.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. Basically, you will end up with a haircut shape up or an edge up. What they do is they tattoo small dots that look like hair follicles in the areas where you have lost your hair and then blend it with your existing hair. You can even choose what type of hairline you want, hard shape up or soft and natural finish. And to maintain it, all you gotta do is shave your hair every few days, which is something you already were probably doing anyway. Make sure you go ahead and contact my man Scalp Carolinas on Instagram.